first on Guam.
KUAM News, winner of the 2022 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Culture Club.
KUAM News headlines are presented by Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust, serving Micronesia since 1938. Matson, celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus. Cars Plus Finish Line Express is now open at Cars Plus in Mighty. The state-of-the-art car wash is now open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. McDonald's of Guam. I'm loving it. And King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on KUAM News Primetime. Guam's governor is in the nation's capital speaking before the U.S. Senate, the discussion revealing that China had previously flown a spy balloon over Guam.
Level 1 sex offender Paul Magnus Jr. is remorseful for the pain he inflicted on a little girl back in 2019. He is ready to admit the crime and do his time. I'm Julian Hernandez with a story from the Superior Court.
Getting answers over the ongoing conflict at the Guam Visitors Bureau, tourism officials were set to go before senators for an oversight hearing today, but it's been delayed. I'm Matsuki Hirayama with the latest on the feud happening over the past year at GVB.
Hafa and good evening, everyone. Welcome to KUAM News Primetime. I'm Nick Delgado.
And I'm Destiny Cruz. Thank you so much for ending your week with us, and also happy Hafa Day Friday. All right, well, Governor Leon Guerrero confirms a Chinese spy balloon did in fact pass over Guam. She made the surprising confirmation during a Senate hearing today. More on the hearing in a moment. But first, here's what she had to say.
The spy balloon that was shot down passed by Guam. And yes, passed by Guam. We had a briefing from the military. So those are the things that do concern us. And of course, what are we doing to prepare?
The controversial Chinese balloon surveillance program has dominated recent headlines as the balloon was detected passing over U.S. mainland military facilities and later shot down over the coast of South Carolina. It piqued the interest of senators, including ranking Republican Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming.
In your good answer to this question, you mentioned the Chinese spy balloon, and you said it passed over Guam as well, and that you were briefed on that. Is that as it was passing over, or is it kind of an after the fact, or that they saw it coming? Or you said you had military briefing?
They were briefing our Homeland Security and as they were passing over.
We asked the governor's office to confirm the timing of the briefing and if the military and Guam had prior knowledge of the Chinese spy balloon operating in the region.
Well, Des, the ever-growing Chinese threat to Guam and local military bases was the key message delivered by Governor Leon Guerrero to the U.S. Senate today.
That's right. That's why she says federal support and financing for Guam's infrastructure needs is critical to national security. Nestor Lecanto reports on the annual Senate hearing on the state of the territories.
It is broadly recognized that American bases on Guam will be a main target in any conflict with China.
Governor Leon Guerrero hammered home that point repeatedly as she lobbied for some $700 million for her medical campus project and other aid.
I raised this prospect not to be an alarmist, but to emphasize that any federal support or investment of Guam's hospital facilities, infrastructure, and resilience also serves under the nation's security interests.
In her testimony before the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee, which has oversight over U.S. insular areas, the governor also raised the critical importance of the H-2 foreign worker program, and not just for the military buildup.
To diversify and strengthen our economy, broader access to skilled labor is needed if our economic diversification strategies are to be realized.
She sought the Senate's help with two proposed solutions: a short-term extension of the H-2B visa waiver to the year 2029, and in the long term, establishing a Guam-only temporary need criteria within the H-2B program to include qualifiers to be determined by the governor of Guam. And she also made what's been a yearly but still unresolved plea regarding the cost of migration from the freely associated states.
Specifically, we seek full reimbursement for compact impact expenses, either by direct funding or offset against local match requirements in federal grant programs.
The governor estimates the annual expenses are more than $150 million, while federal reimbursement is less than $20 million. Nestor Lecanto, KUAM News.
CNMI Governor Arnold Palacios joined U.S. territory leaders in updating the U.S. Senate on the state of the island.
As our regional correspondent Tomas Manglutnia reports, the Governor Palacios focused on the Commonwealth's fiscal disaster and labor shortage.
In his first trip to the nation's capital as CNMI governor, Arnold Palacios painted a gloomy picture of the state of the island at the Senate committee hearing on U.S. territories.
A government in fiscal disarray, an economy still struggling from the impacts of COVID, and several unprecedented typhoon disasters.
But he assured senators that something is being done.
We have also placed high priority on increasing oversight and accountability of federal and local funds, and have sought assistance from and pledged full cooperation with local and federal agencies in investigating and holding accountable those responsible for the misuse and abuse of public funds.
Palacios focused on labor shortage and its relation to geopolitics.
With increasing competition from dominance from China, the United States needs to be strengthening our position in the region and not shrinking the significance.
He also gave his support for NMI Delegate Gregorio Sablan's proposed population stabilization bill introduced in the House, which would encourage approximately 1,600 long-term foreign workers living in our island since 2015 to remain here by offering them a permanent status.
With a diminishing number of CW permits every year, and with the program's end just around the corner in 2029, I ask for your support in the repeal of the section on the touchback provision.
Palacios appealed to the Senate for help to keep the islands afloat. Tomas Manglutnia, KUAM News, Rhoda.
Life in prison for one of the men accused of murdering an American attorney general in Yap.
Emotional testimony from the family of slain attorney Rachel Bergeron. Her killer asked the court for mercy.
This is Francis Buchon. He will serve life in prison for the deadly shooting of Rachel Bergeron. She was the acting attorney general in Yap at the time. Buchon was convicted of murder, among other serious crimes. In 2019, Buchon and Anthony Tunteteth used a shotgun to kill Bergeron in front of her Yap home. That same year, she was the prosecutor on the case against Buchon that charged him with sexual abuse, sexual assault of a minor he knows, and illegal weapons possession. Bergeron's family testified during today's virtual sentencing.
But the irony in this whole thing, and the reality actually, is that Rochelle loved Buchon's family more than he ever did. Rochelle was love in action. Rochelle loved in action, and she did more for Buchon's family than he ever did for his own family. I want to again say that the court needs to really consider keeping Yap safe and reflecting Rochelle's life, her work for the court, her work for the island. He really fought for what was right.
You must admit what is true, that you were full of hatred toward Rochelle and the law, and you plotted to murder her.
The family echoing how Buchon stole their future with Rachel, telling the court he should not be allowed to see the light of day. Buchon only testified through his defense attorney, asking the court to show him mercy. He was hoping to only serve 10 years for his crime and even be allowed work release. The court told Buchon they would review his case after he serves 30 years. Meantime, co-actor Teteth awaits the court to hand down his sentence.
A man could be facing a life sentence. He signed a plea deal in connection to the kidnapping and rape of a young girl back in 2019.
KUAM's Julian Hernandez reports from the local courthouse.
3 years since his arrest, defendant Paul Santos Mofnish Jr. has signed a plea deal with prosecutors that could land him life behind bars with the possibility of parole. Mopnas's case called before Superior Court Judge Maria Simpson today. Defense attorney Stephen Hattori confirming Mopnas will admit to first-degree criminal sexual conduct charges. This all in connection to the 2019 kidnapping and rape of a 10-year-old girl.
The earlier plea was rejected, and so we've entered into a plea agreement where he's going to basically serve a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 15 years.
As we reported, Mopnas stands accused of taking the child in the early morning hours in Tamuning and raping her. Authorities say she was later found near Tamuning Elementary School. Hattori says Mopnas is remorseful for what he did that day, adding that Mopnas himself was a victim of sexual assault when he was a young boy.
Studies show that a third or a fourth of all victims end up being perpetrators themselves. I mean, he's had a really rough life.
Hattori blames the system for not helping Mopnas early on. Mopnas is already a level 1 sex offender. In 1999, he was convicted of rape and kidnapping charges involving 4 separate teenage girls.
Actually successfully completed parole for like 5 years. Maybe he needed to be on parole a lot longer. Some of these sex offenders, they probably do need lifetime supervision, right? And whether it's with treatment. And so what happened was after he was released, his parole was completed, and then there was no treatment being provided him. So, but you know, this is one of those rare cases that he probably could have needed used lifetime supervision.
Meantime, defense confirms the victim is aware of the plea deal.
Mopnas will return to court at a later date where he will admit to the charges. Prosecutors say that his accuser, that little girl he kidnapped and raped, may testify whenever Mopnas learns of his fate. Julian Hernandez, KUAM News.
Thanks, Julianne. Well, the search for the last mariner stranded at sea is ongoing after their cargo ship heading from Guam to Rota sank Wednesday with 3 on board. According to the Rota Mayor's office, the U.S. Coast Guard continues to search the waters. On Thursday, 2 mariners were rescued. The rescue captured in this photo published by the Coast Guard of the mariners being pulled out of the water midday between Guam and Rota. The cargo boat making daily trips as part of its operations. The mayor's office telling KUAM that the Coast Guard cutter Myrtle Hazard and at least 4 aircrafts are actively searching and plan to continue into the weekend.
While the tourism industry should be on the road to recovery, the Guam Visitors Bureau leadership's months-long in-house divide forced the legislature to step in with an oversight hearing.
But that hearing was canceled minutes before GVB management and the board were set to answer to senators. Mitsuki Hirayama has more.
Guam Visitors Bureau leaders and board members set to take the hot seat before the legislature Friday afternoon. That oversight hearing, however, canceled by committee chair Senator Amanda Shelton after most of those expected to attend were not able to show up. Shelton stating while 4 individuals were identified to participate in today's scheduled meeting, that hardly reflects the number of people who are key for a successful dialogue with the industry. The committee will announce an oversight hearing soon when others are also available to participate. Senators during the scheduled hearing were supposed to question GVB about their nearly year-long divide between management and the board of directors. As we reported, the bylaws were called into question nearly a year ago by GVB President and CEO Carl Gutierrez. He charged certain board members had conflicts of interest since they act on matters directly affecting their businesses. That's when management commissioned an independent review of the board bylaws to determine if they were consistent with the statute. The current directors decided not to meet again until the review was completed and any amendments to the bylaws were adopted. For months, there have been failed attempts to convene an official meeting. Ahead of the planned talks Friday, Guam Attorney General Douglas Moylan gave his legal opinion that the board's selection of the 2 new directors is invalid. Moylan also affirming the board can legally schedule future meetings without first resolving their bylaws. To this, Gutierrez says, as our membership prepares to adopt amended bylaws, it is critical that we have our elected Attorney General weigh in on a matter that has placed the board and management at odds for the better half of the past year, so the GVB staff and management can continue the business of reopening tourism and serving the people of Guam unimpeded by any lingering doubts. No word yet when the oversight hearing will be held. Matsuki Hirayama, KUAM News.
Well, Des, you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It's time to take a quick break, but don't go too far. We've got more news on the other side.
Keep it here. You're watching KUAM.
Half a Day Fresco Fridays on KUAM News. Presented by Fresco Clothing, original custom design apparel of Guam and the Marianas. Located in Hagåtña, just across from the Gani Shopping Center.
The wait is over, Guam. The all-new state-of-the-art car wash is now open at Cars Plus. Introducing Finish Line Express, open 7 days a week. The all-new cashless drive-through car wash is also the largest car wash on island that can accommodate vehicles such as lifted Jeeps and full-size pickup trucks. Just roll up, pick a wash, insert credit card, or show your EverWash app and roll through. Plus, power vacuums are available to clean the interior. Show your vehicle some love today at the all-new car wash at Cars Plus in Mighty. Open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week.
I can't make that amount work right now.
Mom,
what is it?
can I get new basketball shoes?
We'll see.
Can I please have $20 for my field trip?
I don't know.
Can I go to my friend's house after school?
Anak, hindi pwede.
We're all trying our best to make ends meet. The governor's child care programs are helping businesses and working families care for Guam's kids. This ad is paid for with funds administered by the Department of Public Health and Social Services. Visit guamchildcare.com to apply today.
What you need to know from the Northern Marianas. Follow KUAM CNMI on Instagram for the latest regional headlines.
Welcome back to Primetime.
Well, the fight to save the Jigo Raceway Park continues from the eviction notice issued by the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, but time continues to run out on the issue. General Manager of the Guam Racing Federation, Henry Simpson, was granted an audience with several senators this afternoon, during which time he presented to them a history of the facility and its worth to the local motorsports community. Freshman Senator Will Parkinson has noted the need for a roundtable forum, including key stakeholders, to discuss the issue. Simpson also noting that a possible alternative plan of action transferring the land's management from the CLTC to the Guam Department of Parks and Recreation has occurred in the past, but has not yet been discussed for the Jigo track. Senator Joseph Augustine also wrote to the CLTC seeking answers. A petition to save the raceway is being circulated. CLTC Acting Administrator Alice Tyron declined to comment until she gets legal guidance.
Now to an update on the nationwide recall of a popular cleaning product. Public officials say they were misinformed by a retailer who thought they had stock of the recalled Fabuloso products. Now officials unsure if any of those affected products are actually on island. As we reported, Public Health shared the Consumer Product Safety Commission recall of certain varieties of Colgate Palmolive Fabuloso multi-purpose cleaners, including products sold on Guam. Officials saying it possibly contained dangerous bacteria. Public Health is continuing investigations following the mix-up. Still, officials are advising the community to check if you may have the recalled products. You can verify on fabulosorecall.com. Now to a story that propels some of us into a happier mood.
Asai, what you did there.
Yes.
The return of Mighty Purple Cafe's canteen.
It was stolen during the holidays last year. We catch up with the owner to see their comeback for ourselves.
A mighty comeback. Local company Mighty Purple Cafe reclaiming their stolen canteen now months after it went missing. The island community banding together to bring it back where it belongs and help restore it. Now the cafe on wheels is donning a fresh new look with some major upgrades. A triumphant return after thieves bashed in its doors and broke through its windows last November. It was a setback that owner Rocky Alcantara now views as a setup for more growth.
Because it's a blessing in disguise, you know, they took our canteen, then we retrieved it and found out that there was a lot of work that needed to be done to it. So for us to do some welding work, some patch-ups, and some just revitalizing it, you know, so now it's gonna hopefully live maybe a decade or so.
Hope for continual longevity to serve the island, an act of service robbed from the local business when its canteen went missing.
Holidays were coming up. We had Thanksgiving festivities at schools. We had holidays, the Christmas bazaars and stuff at schools, and we're, you know, always a part of that. And this year or last year we couldn't have been.
Thankfully, this is no longer the reality. The canteen now ready to do what it had been for years.
We're back in business, and we're excited to see you guys.
Back and leaving a reminder to the thief that the canteen means more to the larger community.
Think twice before you want to take somebody's own hard work, their asset, their belonging. It does belong to the community too. It's just a full circle thing for us to have and do. Serve the community, employ these young adults, and just be part of a greater cause.
Meantime, police have yet to find the thieves.
Helping our island's Manongo get up to speed with technology, GTA is spending time with seniors at the Machechi Community Center in Dededo today. It's their first ever smartphone workshop to introduce some of the island's elderly to the latest smartphone technology so they can stay connected with loved ones. The workshop, led by the Smart Center team, is designated to help seniors understand the basics of smartphones and how to use it to their advantage, and covered everything from setting up a device to using apps, making calls, and sending messages. Attendees also received easy-to-read guides to take home with them so they can continue to learn and use their newfound skills.
And in other news, we here at KUAM are proud to become part of the Join the Fight pledge with Guam Cancer Care's campaign. The movement involves government leaders, associations, companies, groups, and businesses. This means we have taken the oath to promote, encourage, and allow staff and peers to get screened for cancer, promote a healthier lifestyle, share information about the cancer programs, and take part in the Join the Fight events.
Will you be my Galentine?
Me?
Well, I mean, anyone else out there, of course. That's the theme of the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce first meeting set for this Monday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Governor's House. It's an opportunity to network, find inspiration, and connect with fellow businesswomen, leaders, entrepreneurs in all stages of their career journeys. The first meeting of the year will feature a hosted bar, poo-poos, live music, a presentation by Creative Energy. You love that one, huh, Des? And more. Get your tickets now. Check out the Women's Chamber social media sites for more.
And now for a look at your world at home. Here's a view of another beautiful day captured along the beach of the Asin Park.
There it is. Just gorgeous. The Guam National Weather Service forecasting your weekend will be breezy. Only 20% chance of rain.
Don't need a work break, keep the smile on your face. The moments you can't replace, and I'll be around. Whoa. You can count on me. You can count on me for life.
Wherever life takes you, we're always here for you. Calvo's Insurance. Count on us for life.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
All right, now time for KUAM Sports collab with Clutch Guam. Tonight in Isa Boys High School Baseball, the FD Friars go up against the GW Geckos. And in Isa Boys High School Basketball, the Ukuru Bulldogs take on the Tizen High Titans.
And in Isa Girls High School Soccer, it's the Bulldogs versus the Titans. Plus in Isa Boys Baseball, the Southern High Dolphins go against the Titans. Here's the final score.
And don't forget to catch the final score with KUAM Sports and Clutch Guam every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on Primetime.
Well, we wrap up your show with your birthday shoutouts. Be right back.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist, over 20 years of experience. It's Feed Me Fridays on KUAM News Hotspot, brought to you by Devondale, real milk for free grazing cows.
What is up, you guys? My name is Curtis. I am here with Darby, and welcome to Feed Me Fridays, brought to you by Devondale. Today we are out here at Honolulu Coffee, and we've got some amazing stuff to try here today.
So I have the ice cream latte. As you can see, there's a little ice cream inside. It looks really good.
And I got the white mocha hazelnut frost. It's a pretty big drink. Looks good though.
Okay, let's go ahead and give it a try. Ooh, there's an actual like scoop of like ice cream in there.
What kind of ice cream do you think it is? Ooh, this is good.
Probably vanilla. Let's go try it.
Yeah, hey, this is waking me up right now.
It has like a strong like espresso taste, and like you get that kick of like the ice cream in it. It's really delicious.
Yeah, this is you get a kick of it too. You get the espresso. I think I'm assuming that it tastes a lot.
This is really good. If you're like not a fan of like sweet or not too sweet, but like you still like to taste your coffee while just having like just enough of like cream in it, I would say this is the drink for you.
Yeah. I'm not really a coffee drinker myself, but you know, this is like an exception. This is really good.
It looks really good, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. What's your go-to coffee?
For me, I usually go for like a frap. Yeah, I'm not really like a black coffee drinker or like just coffee in general, but if it was like, you know, blended and stuff, it's really good.
No.
Yeah, what about you?
Well, I used to just drink black coffee with honey, but I don't know, there's so much coffees. Like this one is actually really good. Like I tried to stay away from like fraps and blended stuff because it usually goes in the too sweet side, but this one is like perfect. Like it's iced, it like, you know, the coffee taste is so super strong, and dude, the ice cream is really just the cherry on top of it.
So we're kind of opposites though then. Yeah.
Come down to Tumon Sands. Honolulu Coffee is open from 10 to 4 p.m. Monday to Thursday.
And on Friday to Sunday, they are open from 10 to 5 p.m.
Thank you for joining us in this segment of Feed Me Fridays, brought to you by Devondale. My name is Darby.
And I'm Curtis.
And we'll see you next time.
It's Feed Me Fridays on KUAM News Hotspot, brought to you by Devondale, real milk for free grazing cows.
Finally tonight, your Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club shout-out submitted on KUAM.com.
Plus, it's Friday, time to announce the winner of a yummy Cold Stone Creamery birthday cake.
Happy birthday on this February 10 to Yvonne Everett, aka Bon Bon. And Bon Bon, your family says they love you, and we, your island family, celebrate you today as our single birthday celebrant. You get all the spotlight, Bon Bon. Good on you. All right, and the winner of a Cold Stone Creamery birthday cake is Joey Michael Robigo Jr. I remember reading Joey's birthday. Hey, Joey, born on February 6th, you now have the ability to either eat an entire ice cream cake or share it with your family and friends. You know, share, man. That's what I suggest. It's a Guamanian thing to do. So congratulations, and we'll reach out and let you know in DMs probably how you can redeem your prize. Congratulations.
And that's our show. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Nick Delgado.
And I'm Destiny Cruz. Stay safe and have a great weekend.
KUAM News Hotspot is brought to you by
Pacific Points, Do More, Get More, and Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
The Menu, brought to you by King's Restaurant, always open, always local, and Ruby Tuesday Guam, home of the Fresh Garden Bar.
It's no secret that Governor Leon Guerrero plans to build a massive medical complex at Eagles Field, but some have criticized a lack of transparency over the billion-dollar project. Speaker Therese Terlahi has introduced a pair of measures designed to provide more checks and balances. One mandates that all meetings regarding the medical campus be announced and the minutes made public. Another bill requires legislative approval for GovGuam to sign any land leases with the federal government for more than a 5-year term.
People of Guam are entitled to hear the deliberations that are taking place when these decisions are being made, particularly the landowners, to hear the deliberation when Eagles Field was decided to be the first priority or the first preference for land, instead of them finding out in the newspaper or some other news media.
Terlahi's bill also taps GITA as the lead agency. CEO and Administrator Melanie Mendiola.
Where the transparency crosses over to micromanagement is where I take issue with the bill.
GITA recently announced a new website to keep the public informed. We spoke with Mendiola in a separate interview ahead of the public hearing. That discussion coming up. And Hafaday, and welcome. We are joined by the CEO and Administrator of the Guam Economic Development Authority, but she is also the lead on the medical campus project that the governor is strongly pushing right now. Melanie Mendiola, thanks for joining us, Mel.
Thank you. Hafaday, Nestor.
Hafaday, yes. So we recently received the announcement that the medical campus website and information hub has been posted online. Can we start there? Tell us a little bit more about this website and all the information that is going to be available.
Sure. Thank you for the question, Nestor. For the last couple of years, there have been a number of meetings taking place, stakeholder meetings and kind of working group meetings. And so most of those meetings, if you can imagine, were still held during various forms of COVID lockdowns and people meeting via Zoom. So we were fortunate to have all those meetings available via Zoom, recorded, as well as notes posted. So what we started doing was we started posting everything on the GITA website. So we just dedicated a portion of our space to the GITA website. But then what became readily apparent was that there was just too much stuff. And as you're well aware, GITA does a lot of other things other than the medical campus. And so we said this really warrants this project, the scope, the scale of this project really warrants its a dedicated website. And so that was the impetus behind putting the website up and then loading it with all the information. We thought a great time to roll it out would be when we were in receipt of the medical action plan. And so we received some monies from the Office of Economic Adjustment about a year and a half ago to do a medical action plan. This is an update from a plan that was done years ago along the same lines to assess the current state of our healthcare community. And so what we wanted to do, we said, hey, that might be a really good time because this is a pretty serious doc. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of information, a lot of graphics. And so we said this would be a good time to launch our new website so that people can interact with all this information as they'd like to.
All right. I want to talk a little bit more about the action plan a little bit later, but I want to continue to focus on the website. So what is the website address, by the way?
GuamMedicalCampus.com.
Okay, and so they can navigate through that, and what will be some of the things that they're going to be finding. I noticed for when we went through it that there was a nice aerial kind of graphic portrait of the portrayal of the facility itself.
Right, on the landing page, you'll see a very preliminary sort of conceptual of the medical campus. But in addition, you'll also see meeting notes, meeting minutes from previous meetings. So you can see what sorts of discussion and discourse had taken place. The medical action plan, of course, which is a number of different links addressing a number of different subject areas from medical services, an assessment of the Army Corps of Engineers 2019. Actually, you'll find the Army Corps of Engineers 2019 study. So just a lot of resources. But what is probably the most significant is once you go to the website, you do all your homework and the history. periodically you can come back to our website and check it out for any announcements. We'll probably do any RFP issuances, such as a project management office or project manager type of RFP. That type of RFP would go out on the website, or community meetings, other stakeholder types of meetings. As you're well aware, the governor introduced the Land Bank Reform Act last year, and that is not necessarily 100% related to the medical campus, but the medical campus certainly stirred the sense of urgency to issue this type of legislation, or to amend the law such that ancestral owners could get some fair compensation. And so with that, we'll even put some updates like that on the website. And so really it's a great place just to get up to date information, and as well as historical resources and the archives of the work that's taken place over the course of the last couple of years.
Yeah, I know there's going to be some FAQs on there, but will the public be able to submit questions, for example? Will they be able to interact with you folks?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. GITA is, we've in many government projects, GITA plays the home for trying to organize information and trying to send it out to the proper channels. So it's meant that usually something pertaining to land, what went into site selection, how did that go? Yeah, tell me what you did in this regard, those are the sorts of things that perhaps land management might answer. They might be the expert. Other areas, GMH might be the expert. And so GITA is managing the website, so we can kind of, on behalf of the Office of the Governor, so we can kind of channel your questions in the proper direction or feedback.
All right, so we're going to take a short break, but we'll be back with more of our discussion with GITA CEO and Administrator Melanie Mendiola. We're talking about the medical campus. We'll be right back.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, we work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
All righty, everyone, we are back with GITA CEO and Administrator Melanie Mendiola talking about the medical campus. Mel, well, you mentioned earlier that the medical campus action plan has been released. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, we're calling it the MAP for short, Medical Action Plan. Yes, so the Medical Action Plan that went up on the website, it's a pretty extensive set of documents. There's a project management plan, there's a finance strategy, medical services delivery plan, there's an assessment of all the different types of reports that have come out over the last 10 years or so. It's a report of to some extent, there's a report that's a report of reports. There's also a reuse white paper, and I believe there's some master plan type. There's a lot of master plan type information in the medical action plan.
All right, and so finance strategy is one of the things that is included in there, and that's of course the most important question to a lot of people, especially in the legislature, how you're going to finance this project. I know the governor has set aside at one time some millions of dollars. Tell us where we are in terms of the financing, and then what is the strategy going forward for paying for this, and what might be the price tag ultimately?
Sure. So what's really important of a medical campus. So the medical campus that is envisioned by our governor is a medical campus that co-locates the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, Public Health, and Guam Memorial Hospital. Of course, Guam Memorial Hospital has an urgent need for replacement. So that's really kind of that's the first thing that we're looking at with regard to financing. So much of the infrastructure money that comes in. So the first, actually, let me correct myself. The first two projects are going to be a lab and like what is it called? A CDC, a biosafety lab. The first project is a biosafety lab that's 100% grant funded. And the second project is the Guam Memorial Hospital. But with regard to both of those projects, there's a significant amount of infrastructure work that's going to need to be done in the area. Some of it can already, so I believe with the construction of the lab, we can utilize the existing grid, the existing water hookups. With the rest of the the next phase, which is the hospital, there's certainly going to be a need for upgrades. And so the money that was set aside by the governor under the American Rescue Plan is primarily for the pre-construction types of expenses, and as well as infrastructure types of expenses. The legislature also authorized an approximate, I believe it's $35 million a year. So depending on the interest rate, we'll see where that takes us as far as the total aggregate amount that's able to be borrowed, probably in the $600 million range. And so the assessment that was done by the Army Corps of Engineers in 2019 put the price tag at about 700 million, I believe it was, for the replacement of GMH. Interestingly enough, a fix of GMH by the Army Corps of Engineers was assessed to be more expensive. Nonetheless, the replacement of GMH. But at the same time, we don't want to forget that there's quite a bit of work that the administration is doing to layer various sources of financing. So for example, there's been an expressed desire for the Veterans Administration to house like a veterans clinic. So there could be some that's federally funded under the VA. There could be some that's federally funded under the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, specifically with regard to the widening of any road of Route 15 or putting an access road in another part of the property. And so that's where right now, that's what we're paying a lot of attention to, is the costs associated with the any kind of infrastructure work.
I know that the legislature had also worked on some bills to fund the hospital or the medical campus project going forward. What is the status of that?
So the bill, I believe, well, the public law has been passed, so the money is pledged. However, what we do need first is going to be similar to our high schools, where there's a design and then design, bid, build, right? Similar to that, what we'd be doing with the stages that we'd be going through first would be first a design and then bid it out and then build. And usually at the stage with which we'd be going after the $35 million a year financing would be when we're ready to build.
Right. And so are you confident, the administration is confident that all of the money that will be needed to cover the costs of this medical campus will be available in the ensuing years?
I think one thing that we can all be, I think one thing that we've all historically observed is in the last, let's say 5 to 7 years, the cost of building has gone up. That started with the shortage of workers. If you recall, H-2B visa workers were in very short supply right around 2017, 2018. Governor Leon Guerrero and the team have worked really hard to ease up the H-2B situation such that H-2B visa holders can work both inside the fence as well as outside the fence with defense aligned projects, which this is. So we believe that the supply of workers should be fine. Of course, we can't speak for the increasing costs of raw materials and raw goods, or the geopolitical situation going on in Russia and Ukraine and how that affects oil prices and so on and so forth. But we did factor in, that's something as we continue to plan, we continue to We continue to plan for contingencies. But in addition to that, there continues to be this is where there really needs to be an active advocacy towards funding out of federal funding out of DC, and as well as more local funding only if necessary. But also just being prudent. We can't just build the house of our dreams. We just don't have if we don't have a budget for that, right? You build what you can afford.
Yeah, and so there might be some changes, I guess, modifications down the road, I suppose, depending on.
Right. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that one of the sole purpose of co-locating these multiple facilities and not putting currently public health rents all over the island. Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness, they're bursting at the seams, and Guam Memorial Hospital has one serious parking problem, in addition to all the structural problems that we're all well aware of. One thing that can occur with a consolidated site is shared spaces for training, shared spaces for meetings, shared pharmacy, and so on and so forth. So there is some savings to be derived out of co-locating these multiple facilities. Whether or not those savings are going to be realized in the short term or a more long-term type of approach is really where we need to kind of assess that today.
All right, we're going to take another short break, and when we come back, I'll ask you a little bit more about the campus itself and the co-location and the idea, the strategy behind that. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
The wait is over, Guam. The all-new state-of-the-art car wash is now open at Cars Plus. Introducing Finish Line Express, open 7 days a week. The all-new cashless drive-through car wash is also the largest car wash on island that can accommodate vehicles such as lifted Jeeps and full-size pickup trucks. Just roll up, pick a wash, insert credit card, or show your EverWash app, and roll through. Plus, power vacuums are available to clean the interior. Show your vehicle some love today at the all-new car wash at Cars Plus in Mighty. Open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week.
All right, we're back with GITA CEO and Administrator Mel Mendiola. We're talking about the medical campus and the medical campus website that just went up. Mel, before the break, we talked about the campus itself, and you mentioned the fact that it will be co-located with the hospital, public health, and GBWIC with the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. What's the idea behind that?
Right. So the idea behind it was, I believe there was some inspiration drawn from medical campuses all around the world that we see. But I think some of this was very aspirational. We said, in some of the planning, there was this idea that, it's located near the university in Guam Community College, so there could be training that occurs. A teaching campus type of situation, a teaching hospital, a teaching public health type of facility. But the main driver behind co-locating these facilities was much less aspirational and more about what the reality of today's medical situation is. Today, public health had a main facility in Manila that was severely damaged by a fire. Now, public health services are spread throughout the island, including right here at the ITC building where GITA is located. And they're renting, and it can be difficult for folks to have access to all of these different services. With regard to Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, we see the expanded services that have to do with suicide prevention, also with veterans health and veterans behavioral health, right? And so the idea behind co-locating these facilities specifically with the Guam Memorial Hospital was the ability to share talent, the ability to share human resources, but the ability as well to share capital resources. And I had mentioned stuff like things like a training site, conference sites, and even things just as simple as a cafeteria or dining type of establishment. And it is close to the University of Guam. And so ample opportunities, and GCC, so ample opportunities for nearby training. And so that was all kind of what went into the vision for a medical campus. And then from there, the team assessed what size of property might be needed. And then from there, a site was we looked at, evaluated various sites, and that's all articulated on the website in the medical action plan.
Yeah, there are skeptics or critics of the campus idea. One of the things that they say are like, the parking for one, the congestion of having all of the patients and relatives and family and what have you all try to get to one spot for 3 different agencies. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think that any expansion in infrastructure is meant to improve the lives of not only of the hospital and its users, or the public health and its users, but also for the surrounding geography, the surrounding areas currently planned in Manila. For those who are kind of like upset about a parking situation, they should go to GMH today and assess the parking situation and see if it's very convenient and easy. It's not. And the same, I would argue, goes for Guam Behavioral, and the same I would argue goes for public health. Having said that, I think that there's been much in the way of planning as far as how to address congestion, but also how to efficiently make sure there's enough room for parking, how to make sure there's enough room for different types of services, not to all be concentrated where there are all kinds of bottlenecks on one part of the campus or one part of the road on Route 15, right? And so there's quite a bit of planning already being done to address, to allay concerns along those lines.
Okay, so that sort of thing that's going to be taken into account, like maybe multi-level parking, a parking structure, that is going to be part of this master plan.
Potentially, yes. Especially if there becomes, currently the plan is for potentially 3 government agencies. But in the event there are public-private partnerships with, say, small clinics and things along those lines, that'll certainly become a need. And so the plan for the medical campus is to launch in phases, right? And so there is some time there is this whole, this hospital, public health, Guam Behavioral, they're all not going up in a year or 2, all right? We're starting with the lab, next is the hospital, next is likely to be public health, and then finally Guam Behavioral and any other ancillary agencies and services. And so between phases, there's time to really assess and troubleshoot what might be ways to address any issues that may arise.
All right, we're going to talk more about the land, which is the biggest controversy surrounding this proposal, the Eagles Field, which is currently, I believe, owned by the military, but we'll get to that right after this break.
It only gets better with more. Customize and save with the fastest internet speeds in the Marianas by adding mobile, phone, and TV to your bundle with Business Bundles Plus. Docomo Pacific Business. Work better together.
All right, we're back, everyone, talking with GITA CEO and Administrator Mel Mendiola about the medical campus plans. And Mel, as we said before the break, one of the most controversial aspects of this whole proposal is the land itself, Eagles Field. Original landowners have come out in public hearings and spoken, and you were there, of course, spoken about how they want the land back and how the military took it from them, how it was promised. The expectation was that if it was going to be returned, it was to be returned to the original landowners and not to the government of Guam. Can you just dive into that whole situation and explain it from your vantage point?
Sure. Well, I'd like to start by saying that the original landowners have never left the minds of this administration, and most especially the mind and the heart of Governor Leon Guerrero. With regard to original landowners, when we were assessing sites for a medical campus, we had specific size requirements, and the governor reached out to the Department of the Navy and said, I'm interested